What's up guys, Aero here. This is my 1992 Honda Civic Sedan, built for GLTC competition. And if you follow along on the channel, you already know, in order to race this car in GLTC, it has to be restricted, both in power, weight,
89,
tire, and aero. That means, despite this engine making about 200 and I think it was like 20 wheel horsepower, in the class I have to run it at 195 wheel horsepower. That is what I ran at pit, which means I usually detune with the throttle body here. It's drive-by-wire, so I can go in the ECU and I can limit the max throttle opening percentage, which is usually around 40 to 50%. So that throttle body is halfway closed. And she makes about 195 wheel horsepower. So that's the main restriction number one. Now, the main restriction number two is, because GLTC is a power to weight ratio class, at 195 horsepower, I have to have enough weight in the car to achieve my minimum weight. And that's where this weight plate comes in right here. So I have the option to add up to about 150 pounds of extra weight in this car. Now, generally, this is one of the lighter car in the series, but even at the weight, which I believe is around 2,600 pounds, I still have to add a brick, 25 pounds. So those are the two major restrictions right there in terms of power and weight. The next major restriction in GLTC is aero. So this is the max allowable splitter that we're allowed to run in the class. The limit, I believe, is 3 inches from the bumper all the way around, and then it has to end basically right where the center of the front axle is. So it can't go any further back, it can't be any bigger than 3 inches, and it has to be completely flat on the bottom. So no diffuser tunnels, no other additional aero devices on the front end. Like, you cannot have side dive planes or anything, you can't have canards, nothing. It has to be very simple. Another thing about aero, you're allowed side skirts, but they can't be any wider than 5 inches. And you cannot have any underbody aero at all. So no flat bottom, no diffuser. And then the last bit with aero is the wing sizes. Now, the wings in GLTC, you are allowed a few different options. You can do kind of like a spoiler setup. You'll see a lot of the Corvettes running that. That is a 0% penalty. Or you can step up to, I think, like a medium-sized wing, which is, this is the max allowable surface area. I believe it's, I don't recall off the top of my head. I'll put it right here down in the comment below. So that's the size that you can run for a medium-sized wing. And then if you want to run a bigger wing, you have to take a 3% penalty. So you can run a wing much bigger than this. And then last but not least, tires. In GLTC, we are limited not only in the tire compounds. So right now the Falcon Zenny RT660 Plus is probably the fastest tire in the class. You know, we can't do an Advan, we can't do Bridgestone RE71RS, we can't do Nankangs. It's restricted to keep the tires kind of close in parity. The other thing about tires is we're actually limited based on width. And the width will change based on how heavy the car is. But currently, my weight, I am allowed a max tire width of 245. Now, if you're aware, you probably noticed that I run a 255 in the front and a 225 in the back. Well, that's because you're allowed to do an averaging. You can run a wider stagger in the front and a smaller tire in the rear, and as long as the average is within 245, you're good. So long story short, my car is restricted in almost every single way. However, it is built to the max limits of the rules. I have the full aero setups, I got the splitter, I got the wing, I have side skirts, I have the maximum tire width I'm allowed, and I'm running it at the max limit of the horsepower, which once again, 195, but I have a lot of flat horsepower. And then also with the weight. So for GLTC, I have a lot of restrictions on my car. So that leads me to my final point. And I got a lot of these questions on YouTube, and I also have the question inside my head as well, is how fast would this car be without any of the GLTC restrictions? How fast would it be if, for example, I ran full power at this weight? How fast would it be if I ran full power at the complete minimum weight the car can be? So let's take out the ballast. Then, how fast can the car be if I run a much bigger splitter with tunnels? And finally, how fast can the car be if I run a much bigger wing and also maybe even bigger tires? So that's what I'm working on today. And I think I'm gonna finally answer that question. How fast can I make this car around Putnam Park? So in a few weeks, we actually have one of my favorite events of the year. It's hosted by Aaron Lichty and Winning Formula. And the best part about this event is that there's actually a chili cook-off. One of my most fun events of the year. It's also probably gonna be my last event of the season as well. It gives me an opportunity to have some fun with this car. And because there's a lot of track time, I'm gonna run basically an experiment. I want to see in small increments what modification I can make to this car to make it faster. This Putnam event is gonna be, I think, a lot of fun because I've always been curious how much faster I can make this car. Now, I have a ton of track time and seat time at Putnam. I've been there probably almost 10 times now. In this car when I freshly built it, the EG hatch, and also I've been on that track in the Integra Type R. So like I said, I got a ton of data and I'm gonna be really curious to see how much faster I can make this car. I will say the fastest I've been there is in the EG hatch when it had Hoosiers, because that car on Hoosiers was really freaking good. And Putnam is a very high momentum, high grip track, not a lot of braking, not a lot of accelerating. I think the Hoosiers gave that car a huge benefit. So I'm gonna see if I can make this car as fast as the hatch, maybe even faster. All right, so first step is actually going to be to make a new splitter blade. This is my GLTC spec splitter. It's been doing great, honestly. Very simple Home Depot 3/4 inch birch plywood. I'm using a lot of professional, awesome products on here. We got the titanium rub pucks. On the backside, we have the quick release mounts, and then we're also using the splitter rods that, you know, these can deflect. And just a very simple setup. We're having brake ducts here that I kind of manually have to put inside this tube, which flows cold air at the rotors. And then these are just some homemade mounts that connect to these Home Depot racing turnbuckles on the back. But we're gonna make a bigger splitter. We're gonna make a splitter kind of very similar to the TCR cars. So it's gonna come out a bunch, and then it's gonna kind of be flat up front, and then come this way. So we're gonna have a ton more surface area. And then also, I got some products here from my good friends at Racebred Components. Check these out. So we got some dimple tunnels. So, you know, think of like a golf ball. Really good at controlling the airflow over the dimples. So these guys are going to go essentially somewhere right there. And then on top of that, we also have some splitter end plates, maybe? These are not their mass production parts. These are actually 3D printed. These are their prototype parts that they use for test fitment and mock-up. And they said, hey man, we're just gonna send you these. If they work, great. If not, whatever. So these will get bolted to the side of the splitter like so. And they're just mainly there to control the airflow around the splitter and provide more downforce. This is gonna receive a lot of abuse. I'm expecting this to hit the pavement quite a few times. Huge shout out to Racebred Components. I love these guys. I've been running their wing on the back of the car and their tire splats up front. Great products. These tunnels are awesome. They're a nice durable plastic. They give you a template to install it on your splitter, and they even give you gummies, hardware to mount all this stuff. So really good stuff from Racebred Components. I kind of told them my idea of trying to make the car as fast as possible, and they were so hyped because like, we're just gonna send you a bunch of stuff. And yeah, it's gonna help a lot with front downforce. So step number one is we actually need to completely tear apart this splitter. I'm gonna take everything off because I'm gonna use this splitter as a template for the new birch plywood that I got from Home Depot Racing. And we're gonna make a whole new splitter. And then this is going to be used only for GLTC. All right, so I'm gonna say it again. The best thing about not destroying your splitter on a racetrack is the fact that you get to use it as a template to make your next splitter. So keep that in mind. If you build a splitter, maybe make a copy of it before you destroy it. But I've been pretty lucky. I haven't really destroyed any splitters ever in my career. It's because I use heavy stuff, man. This is 3/4 inch birch plywood. This whole sheet cost me $84. Kind of expensive, man. Wood has gotten crazy. But anyway, I want to use the holes as templates, right? So I'm just going to drill right through these holes, and that's exactly where the splitter mount is going to mount to this guy. Same thing on this side, the ones in the back, and then also the mounts here on the side for the rods. But anyway, now I'm basically just going to kind of trace the back side. I'm going to drill all my holes, and then I'm just going to do kind of a rough cut of what I think I want to make this splitter look like, and then go from there. So a few things I need to change a little bit is this little feature I have is gonna have to be straight so I can mount these diffusers. All right, so I'm looking at this. This is a lot. This is a lot. So yeah, 5 inches here, but yeah, it's pretty big here. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to do a bigger radius, I believe. That's a little too big. It looks pretty good. I thought it was gonna be a little bit too big, but I think it looks pretty damn good. So that's just a rough cut. Obviously I'm gonna sand it down, smooth it out. I'm gonna put a bevel or like a radius kind of underneath it. I think that looks sick, man. Look at that. That's beefy. It's a beefy little splitter. I do have an idea on how to maybe brace the front a little bit more. We have way more now on the front of the splitter. So I have the Doryoku crash bar, which, as you can see right here, it's got pretty sturdy metal structure. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do like steel wire, and I'm just gonna run it from here to the corner just to kind of make sure this is braced. And I picked up a few parts from Home Depot Racing. So I got like this little clevis. So I'm gonna do like a steel wire through that hole. And then when I wanna put this splitter on, I'll basically just kind of hook it onto that tow hook. So wire, boom, boom. It's a lot more surface area right there. So it'll be a little bit heavier than the GLTC splitter, but a lot more downforce. am completely covered in sawdust. That was brutal. Pretty big bevel on the bottom side, and I just did a small little bevel on the top. But yeah, I think that came out great, man. It's nice and flush, perfect fit. So man, that air is gonna go shoop, produce some downforce. So both sides done. Obviously, I'm gonna wait to install them after paint, but yeah, look how flush that is. Yeah, that's pretty sick. So as flush as can be. Damn. So, looks good. I'm happy with that. That's awesome. And there you can see the router job I did. Not too bad with my bare hands. Got a little wonky here, but it's okay. All right, bottom side of the splitter, basically done. So the race brake kit comes with some nice hardware. So these are like weld bolts / elevator nuts, maybe actually. So you gotta make sure you got a big enough drill bit, and then you just pop these guys in. Should be a pretty tight fit, like so. And then you're gonna screw it in from the bottom side with these. Yeah, there's double-sided tape that I gotta take off here and then fix it in place. And that's gonna be smooth as butter. That's it, kind of mocked up. It's a little bit bigger than I was planning on making it. I don't know, it looked different when I was cutting it on the sawhorses, but as soon as I put it on the car, I was like, oh man, looks like a hill climb car. It's pretty big, but yeah, it turned out really sweet. I sanded the paint down with like 600 grit, and it turned out really nice actually. It's nice and smooth, and it's like a uniform satin finish. Doesn't even look like wood. So happy with that. The only thing I have left to do on the actual splitter itself is I need to make some aluminum angle iron on the back here to support the deflectors. I need to mount the end plates from race brake components, and then I think I'm going to add these little support brackets. I think it's like 16th inch metal rope, and I'm just gonna loop it around this tow hook, so it's gonna go boom boom, and then same thing here, boom boom, just to give the front of this splitter a little bit more support. All that stuff I'm gonna do here next. So I'll get the car up in the air, take the splitter off, finish those things, and then move on to the next project for the unlimited unlimited EG Sedan build. But it's pretty crazy looking. I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be sick. It just needs to be faster.